Hello folks, it's Anahita Rao back again, and today I am discussing major transits in 2019. So, of course, we all know the dreaded Saturn and Ketu conjunction that is coming up. So that is something that I'd like to discuss today, and perhaps get to the bottom of it, see what we can expect. Okay, so in 2019, starting in March, when Ketu moves into Sagittarius, we will experience the conjunction of Saturn and Ketu in the sign of Sagittarius and the nakshatra of Purvashada. First, I want to speak a bit about this nakshatra, as this is the place where a lot of action is going to take place in 2019. Purvashada is known as the invincible star, the undefeated. It's governed by the planet Venus, who is quite friendly to Saturn. So Saturn is well placed there, but Ketu not so much. Purva means early or first, and Ashada means invincible, so it implies an early victory. The ruling deity is Appas, which brings a strong connection with the element of water, which is the most powerful element, as it shows fluidity and power to adjust. It's an auspicious star, generally, and under this nakshatra you would have the capacity to inspire others and win them over to your side. Purvashada also symbolizes devotional inspiration received from the root truth. That was Mula, the previous nakshatra. Now, it being ruled by Venus and Saturn being here will be a refreshing change from Saturn's transit into Mula, because as I said, they both have a friendly relationship, so Saturn feels quite comfortable here. Now about Saturn, as we all know, Saturn shows our limits and our boundaries and imposes those limits and boundaries in our life, depending on where it's transiting and depending on where it's situated in your chart. Now Ketu, of course, is trying to break free from those limits. So what you're going to feel generally with the entire conjunction, particularly from May till October, is sort of a push and pull energy. Now again, Ketu represents the influence of past lives. And it also represents an area that we're moving away from because we're finishing our karmas there. So this we have a tendency to reject that place because we're running towards the Rahu. But of course Ketu can be very compulsive and critical. And so it's going to bring a focus, a very narrow vision into that space in Purvashada and what it represents in your chart, what Sagittarius represents, and the lordship of Ketu and Saturn you have to look at. Saturn is also similar. It also shows you where your vision is narrow. And there's going to be an overemphasis on things that Saturn represents in your chart. So there can be a hyper focus on problems that are connected to the house and the lordships that Saturn represents in your chart. So just be watchful for that, because this conjunction can also obscure your reality in the areas that are connected with Saturn and Ketu in your chart, or whatever Sagittarius signifies. So it can bring an obsession for control in these areas where everything has to be perfect, because that's what Ketu demands. But if you get stuck here in that place, in your head or in your life, you will only see the problems. So you need to work on your optimism and be a bit detached, because remember, Ketu is about detachment. So you have to take a step back and detach, which is not going to be easy to do with Saturn's presence. But you do have to do that in order to see the big picture and in order to follow your inspiration, which is what Purvashada is asking us to do. Ketu's ultimate goal is to break attachments that which are represented by Saturn in this case. But remember, Purvashada is symbolic of the river's water rushing to merge with the ocean. So any issues that are being revealed by the conjunction, the solution will actually come on its own, in the same way that the water merges with the ocean, the river merges with the ocean. So being irritable and critical, all of the Ketu qualities, will definitely bring harm in those areas. So just be watchful for that. Of course, you have to see what areas Saturn in your chart represents to determine what areas will be affected the most. So for example, if you are a Cancer rising, then Saturn's rulership over the 7th and 8th house is the domain of the life that is going to be impacted the most. So how does this play out? You may have issues in your relationships because you're focusing on your partner's flaws, which is what Ketu is making you do, and Ketu loves to do. And with Saturn there as well, there will be sort of a feeling of hopelessness for a while. So be watchful for that. It's also important to check which planets are in Purvashada in your birth chart, as this transit will, of course, directly impact those planets. You will need to practice patience and surrender related to any matters that are connected to planets sitting in Purvashada. Because Ketu does well in Sagittarius, but it does not blend well with Venus energy. We have to look to Jupiter, which is Sagittarius's ruler, to help deal with this conjunction. So the remedy would be to tap into the dharmic planets in the charts, the Sun and Jupiter, to increase your optimism, to help you see beyond the limits that Ketu and Saturn are bringing to the surface. So how do you do that? You see the big picture, which the Sun will show you. So what you can do in this regard is you can do a daily practice of Surya Namaskar and do a Surya mantra, for instance. With Jupiter, increase your knowledge, connect with your guru, stay on course with a spiritual practice. And if you don't have one, then good idea to implement that in your life. The ultimate goal for both Ketu and Saturn is to disconnect from the world, because detachment is what they're both seeking. So if you're already on a spiritual path, this conjunction can make that path deeper. And as I said, the months to be most watchful for is when Saturn is retrograde. So that's technically the end of April, but I would say May till mid-September are going to be the most intense. With June and July, you have to be particularly watchful for, because other planets are in the mix. With that, I wish you all the best.